Perspective here. What you're looking at is the emergency landing of a flight, a Cathay Pacific flight from Hong Kong to LAX. It was on July the 30th, and the Cathay Pacific flight had to make an emergency landing in the Aleutian Islands on the Shema Island, and it landed at a military base. Now this flight, very similar to the other one, baby gave birth on the plane. The issue's the same. And we're going to look at this in depth so that some folks can't come back and say, no, it's like this and it's like that. Look, the point is, the quickest and the straightest path is a direct flight from Hong Kong to LAX. That's on the green route. The plane in red, right, is going the long way around. It's not the same distance. So now the issue is, why would these planes travel that flight path? Because the shortest route would be a direct flight from Hong Kong to LAX. So if we look at some of the world's longest non-stop flights, they all go over the pole, whether it's on the west coast or the east coast. Now, the issue is there's a problem with time and distance. So let's look at time first. Right? If they're traveling this route. So for example, look, here's a plane. The plane is simply going to fly from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at sunrise. Right, on the opposite side. So in this case, it's day one. The plane's going to, the destination is on day two. Right, and the light source is moving. So the plane takes off, right? It takes off at local time at 6 o'clock. Right, its destination, local time there is at 9 o'clock. Where it took off from now is at 10 o'clock. Right, so ahead, they're a day ahead. So as it hits 12 o'clock, where you left off now, it's day two. Right, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Destination is now 2 o'clock. Right, and now the sun's setting. He's flying towards his destination. Still day two. Right. Now let's just say this aeroplane had to make an emergency landing. Right. What would the time be when the plane made the emergency landing? Well, the local time would be 8:30, right? No problems, no issues. It's simple. Let's say the plane didn't make an emergency landing and just continued flying, right? The time where he's flying to would tick over nicely. It's 11 o'clock now. Now it's 12 o'clock. Midnight. It's day three now. And so as he continues his flight, he'll land at 6 o'clock in the morning. So there's no issues. Now let's have a look at a different scenario, right? We're looking at time. On this one, the aeroplane is actually moving. Right, the sun is standing still. The aeroplane is actually moving with the disk. It's going to fly the same speed at the same time, a 24-hour time. Everything's the same. The only difference here is that the plane, is what they're telling us, the plane is spinning with the earth as the earth spins. So let's have a look. It's day one. The plane takes off at 6 o'clock. right, in the morning. The plane continues its flight. Destination time now is 9 o'clock at night. Right, it becomes 12 o'clock midday where the plane is, right. His local time now is at 12 o'clock. His destination now, it clicks over to day 3. It's 1 o'clock in the morning where he's flying. His destination now, where he came from now, it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at night. So do you see the issue already? Now what? Look at the plane. Now the plane is spinning with the earth. Now what happens is, say the plane has to make an emergency landing. It flies over the North Pole. Now you have serious problems. So the plane lands now. What's the local time where the plane lands? At 10 o'clock in the morning. 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. On what day? Do you understand what's happening? I'm going to go into a little bit of detail with this. Right, now let's just say the plane didn't have to make the emergency landing, the plane just continues, right? And look at the plane, look at the direction the plane flies, look at the time. It's day 2 now, and as the plane flies towards its destination, right, so the amount of time for both was the same, the clock time. But we see that the time wasn't the same. Do you understand? If you're flying over the North Pole, it creates issues. So basically, look, this airplane flies from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. 12-hour flight. In that time period, the earth does a half a rotation. That plane has to experience a 6-hour day, a 6-hour night. He's flying around the equator, right? You already see the issue. He's flying around the equator. He's flying around the dead center of the earth. Now, an aeroplane flying from north to south, he's angled a different angle. His speed, his spin speed, and the time for him would be totally different. You'll have different speeds. In other words, the time would be different for both aeroplanes. They would experience different time zones because they're spinning with the earth and the plane is traveling at a different angle. In other words, every flight path would have a different time relationship to its position and its speed on the ball earth. We don't see this on earth. Pilots and airplanes don't experience this phenomenon. Another issue is distance. You see, distance on a flat disk is not the same as on the ball earth. Now you put a spin on that ball earth and they'll tell you now the aeroplane is spinning with the earth. Now you've got distance, you've got time issues, and speed issues. You've got 3 issues that aren't accounted for in real life. It's time differences, speed, distances. So you think in this money-motivated world that we live in, that airplanes are going to just simply fly the shortest route. So an airplane flying towards the North Pole, he's flying westerly or easterly rather. The other airplane is flying at a different angle. They'll have different time issues. You would have to calculate each route out and the time issues and the speed of the plane in relation to time and distance. You simply have to. Another issue is, let's look at distance. Look, this airplane is traveling in a flight path. The flight path goes around the center of the earth, right? Dead center. Now, if I change that flight path, I can angle that flight path up or down. Doesn't matter, because it's going around the center of the Earth. Same distance. Nothing changes. Right? The only thing that will change is the speed of the plane and its time. The time that that plane experiences. So, a plane flying around the top bit of the ball Earth, right? His circle would be smaller than a plane flying around the equator. And their angled around that ball, will all be different. Different speeds, different times, different distances. You cannot escape this. And we don't see this on Earth. Aeroplanes do not have this issue. So the shortest distance is a straight line, even on a ball. If I bend this around a ball, the longest route around the top is still the longest route. Do you understand? So if they're saying, well, the plane flew from Hong Kong and it went around that route, the plane took the long route. Why would the plane take this route? Why would they take this route when it's going to cause them major time issues? The answer is simple, is that the route is a straight line. The Earth is flat. There's the flat Earth map. That's the route that the plane is actually taking. So en route to the LAX from Hong Kong, the plane made an emergency landing in Alaska, on Aleutian Island, Samya Island, if my memory is correct. Do you understand? The shortest route, you be paying different airfares. So all airplanes, so the plane leaving from Hong Kong going to the east coast or the west coast of America, it's a straight line. They don't have time issues. If we look at the longest flights in the world, and they all go over the north, none of them experience the time issues. So, an aeroplane flies anywhere, it's a straight line. The plane leaves at local time 3 o'clock. He's going in that direction. He lands at 7 o'clock, it's local time, whatever the case is. It's because the aeroplane's moving and the sun is moving. The land is not moving, because you'll have all sorts of time issues, as we've already proven. So, the speed of the aeroplanes, the time issues, the distance issues, those three issues tell us that aeroplanes don't experience this issue. They don't have to calculate the angle on the ball Earth. It tells you the Earth is flat. The sun is moving. Now, we're going to have a look at this. Look, when you get an aeroplane, look out your window, look at the horizon, look at the clouds. Now, here's some time-lapse footage. Watch as the aeroplane rises. It crosses over the clouds in a straight line. Look. Forget what you've been told. What your eyes see and the reality in time and distance and speeds. If you see this out your window, going to the pilot, into his cockpit, he sees the flat ground in front of him. You look out the window on your left-hand side. The guy sitting there, he sees the exact same thing. Tells you it's flat. There is no curve. It's as simple as that. Now, I know for many people this is hard to endure because it's a bit of a shock to the system. Now, watch this time-lapse footage. Look at the sun. The sun simply moves away from the aeroplane. You see, if the Earth was a spinning ball, the aeroplane now would be spinning away from the sun. What would happen with the sun? Its path would be straight down, coming straight from the top of the window, straight down into the horizon. Look how long, for the entire flight, the sun sits on the horizon, because the sun is above the clouds. For the entire flight. Do you understand? Now watch the sun's moving away and it just simply gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now the aeroplane does a slow descent, right? The sun's getting smaller and smaller. Watch the sun, moves away from the aeroplane. It's as clear as daylight. Now the glow is still there, fills up the whole night sky from the sun, and that glow simply gets smaller. Look at the perspective in the land. Earth is flat, and the sun is moving. The aeroplane is moving, and the land is still. For example, in this footage, the aeroplane is flying over the flat clouds. The pilot's perspective, right? Now watch when the aeroplane turns, when the pilot turns. He drops below the clouds, it's a flat. Look at the perspective in the land, it's flat. If you had a ball in front of your face, and it was a big ball, if you turned your head to the right, what happens? The horizon of that ball cannot still be in front of you. When the airplane turns left, turns right, the horizon stays in the same place. That simple fact tells you the earth is flat. Look at the perspective. You see, the simple truth is that this runway is as flat as the earth is. The experience on the runway is the same as the experience on the clouds. It's the same. Hi folks, my perspective here. This is a quick follow-up on my last video clip, Flat Earth, What Time Is It? In that video clip I dealt with flight paths. Let's have a look at that, right? So some people fail to get the point. This map is a flat planar surface. It's been extruded off a ball surface. This is what we are told. Therefore, it's a flat map. It's a flat planar surface. Those flight paths are curved. Those curved flight paths are on a flat map. So what some people are doing, they're imagining that the map is a ball. It's an illusion. It's just the way they work in the system. Everything is a mind game. Remember, this map is flat, so the shortest distance between Hong Kong and LAX is a straight line. The shortest distance between Hong Kong and JFK is a straight line. They just show you these curved flight paths, which are long flight paths. Do you understand? This is a flat map. These curved flight paths do not make this map a ball. It's a flat map. It's part of the illusion. To illustrate the point, there's two islands, right? The shortest distance between these two islands is a straight line. So the yacht taking that straight line will travel a shorter distance. The yacht on the curved path, well, it's a longer path. So now I map this flat map onto a ball. Does the long path now all of a sudden change? No. The curved path is still longer. Nothing's changed. It's just an illusion. If you turn the map, if you turn the ball that way on top, it just looks shorter. But it's an illusion. That's the way they work in the system. Everything's an illusion. You have to look and think. Look, this is a flat map. It's a planar surface. It's been extruded off the so-called ball Earth. So if we look at the size of Greenland, right? If we look at it's called the Mercator map, right? If we look at the size of Greenland and when it's been projected onto the ball, the sizes change. It distorts. Look at the size of Australia. Look at the size of the South Pole. Do you understand? It's just part of the illusion. So for you to draw the shortest distance, you would have to draw it on the Mercator map as a straight line. These flight paths are curved. The shortest distance would be from Hong Kong to LAX in a straight line. So as I mentioned in that video clip, the shortest distance between these two dots is a straight line. If I map this planar surface, if I UV map it onto a ball, onto a sphere, the shortest distance would still be the straight line. That's true, and we're going to prove it in another way. So the point was, the plane traveling on the red route was actually, its flight path was actually curved. Its flight path was longer. The plane flying on the green route was a shorter route. And the routes all work out on a flat earth map. Because aeroplanes fly in straight paths, because it's about money. It's about money. They're not going to waste time flying around in circles. So some folks said, well, if I got a ball, right, and I got a piece of string, and I pull the piece of string, whoa, why are you using string? The string doesn't have a memory. You can twist the string and you're not going to measure anything. So it would be more appropriate to use a piece of wire. You stick a piece of wire through the ball, you bend it around the ball, right? That wire has a memory. Now you can measure on that ball with that piece of wire, because it retains its shape. Right? So let's have a look at that. If I take a piece of wire and I stick it right through the middle of a ball, straight through, I bend that wire around, right? And that's the flight path of that aeroplane. Now I can rotate that wire on its x-axis. I can spin it around the ball this way and that way. The distance is the same, right? I spin it around. I'm rotating that wire on its x-axis. I can rotate it on its y-axis. Distance still the same. But if the flight path is not through the middle of the ball, it's not the same thing. Do that with a piece of wire through the ball. Now you cannot rotate that piece of wire, because if you do, you'd have to rotate the wire through the ball. So the shortest distance would be that distance. Measuring it with a piece of string, it's just part of the illusion that people want to create. It's part of the trickery that they use to deceive people. It's part of the illusion. So the shortest distance then, if you push that piece of wire through the ball and you're not going through the middle of the ball, that would be the shortest distance between those 2 points. So let's just illustrate the point in another way. Right, here's a man, right? I've got a green cokie and a red cokie. I can say to you, well, the shortest distance between his one earlobe and the other earlobe would be across his mouth. So I draw a line across his mouth. But you can go and draw the line across his nose, under his eyes, and across his cheek back. And depending where you stand, the red line can look like it's the shortest distance. But the right way to do it would be to map it in a flat plane and then draw it out. Then you can judge it and measure it. And the point is that the map at the bottom is already a flat planar surface that has been projected off a ball earth, a supposed phony ball earth. Therefore the shortest distance between LAX and Hong Kong is a straight line, because the map is a flat map. Do you understand? So a lot of folks came, and people come and they say, I'm a flat earther, and then they start spinning the spin, and the spin doctors come, and that's their job. Their job is to mislead people. We need to think, and these people, they're not that smart. Their lies are so weak, it's easy to see through their lies. We just need to stop and think. So I've got an island, I've got a triangle. If I project that triangle onto a ball, the triangle will warp. It has to. But the real distance between them is still a straight line. It's a mind game of illusions. That's the way they work in the system. Everything is designed to mess with your mind. And these people, as I said, they're not that smart. Look, let's take the issue about distance and speed. These two aeroplanes are flying the same speed. It's logical that the aeroplane flying in a smaller circle will get to where he's going quicker. Time will be different for him than the plane flying around the circumference. the outside ring of the circle. It's as simple as that. So if we put a spin on that, nothing changes. The point is that these two planes will experience a different time. The length of the hours will be different for them, because he's traveling in a smaller circle. His watch, the fact that he's traveling in a smaller circle, his watch still travels at the same speed. His watch doesn't slow down now because he's traveling at the North Pole. You get it? So, the same with an aeroplane flying across the North Pole and an aeroplane flying around the equator. Right? Look at the time zones that they have to cross. Now let's wind it back. Right? Think of a watch. Now, if both planes are spinning with the Earth, look at the time zones. Now think about the aeroplane that's flying in a smaller circle. Now his circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger. What happens? His time has to change. And aeroplanes do not experience this phenomenon. So think of an aeroplane flying from the North Pole to the South Pole, right? The aeroplane flying around the equator, they're flying the same distance, they're flying the same speed, and the Earth is spinning for both of them. So what they teach us that the planes are spinning with the Earth. The time zones for these two planes and their time experience will be totally different. The aeroplane flying from North Pole to the South Pole will have a different time experience to the aeroplane flying around the equator. The aeroplane flying around the equator, his time will be constant, but it won't be like that for an aeroplane flying around the North Pole. So aeroplanes do not experience this issue. Right. Let's just have a look at that a bit more. Right. So the airplane flying, watch his hours. The airplane flying around the equator. It's constant. If his speed is constant, so both planes traveling at the same time. But now watch the zones for the airplane flying across the North Pole. It will also be different for him. Right? So the Earth's not spinning here, the plane's not spinning with the Earth. We're just looking at the time zones and the angle that airplane flies across those time zones. Right. Do you understand? Now we're going to rotate the ball Earth with the aeroplanes. And look what happens. Look at the time for the plane flying around the equator, his time is constant. But the guy flying over the North Pole, look at the length of time. Each pizza slice is an hour. So look how the hours would speed up and the hours would slow down. But his watch on that guy on the airplane, his watch will be constant. In other words, when he lands, his time on the airplane will not match the reality. This doesn't happen, therefore the Earth is not a spinning ball. Do you understand? It's just part of the nonsense that we're living in. It's part of the matrix. It's just an illusion. It's to block out the real world from your mind. So all the decisions that you make, the Earth is flat. The decisions you make and everything you make, if you're living in a dream world, your decisions is based on that dream world. And the decisions is based on what the decisions they want you to make. Your choices are the choices that they want you to make. They're not your choices. If you're living in an illusion, your choices is based on the illusion. You would not make those choices if you were not living in that illusion. It's manipulation, it's propaganda. Remember, these people, they're not that smart. For somebody to brainwash you and to mislead you and to mislead little children through the education system is disgusting. It's despicable. They deceive you from a young child right until your adult life. So remember, these are flat maps. These flight paths, they're just an illusion. Because this is a flat map, the path has to be straight. They just make these curved lines to put that impression in your mind that you keep seeing the ball Earth. So time and distance and the speed of the aeroplanes match on a flat earth with the sun moving. The time, each aeroplane here experiences the same time. Time doesn't speed up or slow down for these aeroplanes. That's the issue. The flight paths are straight. Time is constant for each aeroplane. So, that's how they work in the system, They send their puppets round, and it's despicable when someone says, I'm a flat earther, but it's like this and it's like that. And they're only here to mislead you. You need to look and think and reason. Be careful. And it's despicable, that they'll come and say, I'm a flat earther, but it's like this and it's like this and it's like that. Just remember who they are. And they can't hide who they are. You can see right through them. You just read what the person writes. You just say, oh, well, there you go. He's just a puppet. So we have to take the abuse from them. And it is what it is. And I don't care. They can abuse us. Well, the point is, we know they're lying. And we're throwing the lies back in their face and exposing it for what they are. So you need to do some research. Do research into who controls the governments, who controls the education system, who controls the media. It's the same organization. Rome still rules the world. The Vatican and the Jesuits still rule the world. They have their machinery in place. The Massonations is the Masonic world order. They control everything. It's their money. It's their banks. And now they have a new idea, a new world order that's somehow going to save the earth. And it's all a lie. It's all a lie. It always has been absolute power and control at any cost. And the people that it rules over mean nothing to these people. We are just a source of income. We're the workforce. You're wasting your time voting. You're wasting your time believing their lies. The whole thing is it's a mechanism for control, and it's a mechanism of slavery, mental and physical slavery. Cheers. Thanks for watching.